Hi, my friends. Haven't seen you for quite a while. How have you been faring? I'm still hailing from the same village in southeastern Anhui province of China. If you're still interested in China, if you're still interested in the perspectives I bring about China, here's a warm welcome. Thank you for all your favors. In the rest of the time of the video, I'm going to walk around and show you how people live and what they are doing around this time of the year. This video was taken on September the 7th, exactly 1 month ago. Just now I teased away my wife Lan Lan at the entrance to this hairdresser's. I kind of didn't like the way she stood there. That morning we came down from our sub-village tucked away in the valley of mountains. It took us about 15 minutes to send our children to school located in the village seat in this area. Then we came here from the school in a matter of 2 minutes on our scooters. You know what? I ride a scooter. I have my own scooter now. I picked up that skill only recently because I couldn't always ride my bike up and down on those slopes. It really hurt my knees. This lady is my wife's paternal aunt. She lives in a more isolated hamlet from here. Normally, it can take her about 1.5 hours to get to this village seat from her hamlet, or on foot, as she doesn't know how to ride a scooter, and obviously they don't own a car. Just now she bought a tubal packet of mooncakes, the traditional food for the traditional important Mid-Autumn Festival. The mooncake in this small village is quite different from that you can get in Shanghai, for instance. They are more simple and basic, therefore less sweet and oily. One can spend 15 yuan on average to get a packet of 8 pieces. That is $2 for 8 pieces. Only a quarter as expensive as those ordinary ones in the city. The Mid-Autumn Festival is quite an important traditional festival with the meaning of family reunion. It runs on the traditional lunar calendar, and this year around it comes on the penultimate day in the month of September. Well, October 1st is the fixture of National Day in China. 2 occasions in one. This time, Chinese enjoy an 8-day break. People move around to see their families and to travel. Places got very crowded, like nothing in the world. In the video, we were curious at a wad of tissue placed in the hole of this chunk of ham. The butcher explained to us he did it in order to stop flies from getting in. My wife spotted out a net on the tissue, which soon got crushed by the butcher with his fingers. But he said that can be counted as a bug. This is not the only, but the main butchers in this village seat that serves a couple of sub-villages around here. A pig's head is never at random disposal in China. People in a city like it as much as people in the country, if not more. You can always find parts of a pig's head in a delicatessen or across a city. The meat is cured and cut into slices. The most popular cuts are in the ears, snout, or the cheeks. I remember when I was a child, I ate for a period of time the pig's brain given to me by the adults. Still as a kid, I had pig lung soup a couple of times, which doesn't have any value of health benefits according to my wife. She told me that pig's tripe is good, especially one of a boar. This is what you see people doing in this area between mid and late July and late September. These are the soybean stalks. They are spread on the ground for drying until the beams on them can be shaken off. Then the local farmers stand the stalks into a pyramid for burning, which is their way of disposal. So I noticed that this year, the air quality in late September was lower in this area because of that. People are not supposed to do it, as there is a rule out there. But just like 1001 other rules in China, officials supervise just for the time being, as long as they can report to their captains. Nobody really knows, or even tries to know, why a rule is so stipulated and the pros and cons of it. In the base level, where public servants have relatively less resources to exploit for good profit, they aim to do work just on par, which often turn out to be something short of or way short of a minimal decency. While in the upper levels, every ambitious one is ideally an eager beaver who is engaged in hobnobbing with their honchos and trying to make them extremely happy by all means.
小妹妹好哦，谢谢你，谢谢你。重庆开心吗？开心，开心。呐，这多个吃点西才好。给多干点。小瓜子都知道你了。呐，这喊起来个白吧？小妹妹都知道你了。也吹点绿了。这个。小妹妹。
那有什么要的吗？
小妹妹啊。
那走，再往前走的。
In about late August, about half a month before this video, we heard of a swine fever somewhere in the village. We stopped buying pork from then on. The butcher's business, as you can imagine, went cold for quite a while. But the other days, we saw some small individual pig farmers hurrying their pigs onto some trucks. We soon came to know that those pigs were sold at a low price to some buyers who came here from somewhere in Zhejiang province. Needless to say, some wicked smaller butchers and the murky restaurants would eventually get them for their business. This is only a tip of the iceberg of the sort of things that have been going on in China year in and year out for all the thousands of years of history, which in itself is something people are very proud of in this country. Of course, I know a lot of foreigners also like to think fondly about China, merely based on the idea that China is an ancient civilization. I really advise people to think at least twice over the ideas like ancient, traditional. I'm standing on one end of the bridge that sits right in the middle of this village seat. Here lies the main, quote, public casino, unquote, in this village. Did you notice those people standing and sitting in the room there? As I know, there is not a bad percentage of the population who are addicted to gambling. Gambling in this village mainly takes the form of card games instead of mahjong or others. In Shanghai, a lot of men every late summer throughout autumn are engaged in insect cricket fighting. I've asked some folks here and have come to know that cricket fighting has never existed in this village. I guess it is because it takes a lot of time and also money. Something people in the country can't afford, at least in a traditional perspective. The lady is making a hard, crusty, a little bit flaky pan-fried cake. It's not the only traditional pastry in this village, but this is the only presentable pastry shop I recommend people go to for a try in this village. She lives a few doors away. This shop is her
其实
rent
他做这个东西的话，
because
干
the
嘛不在自己
first
家下面
floor
做
of
顺
her
便
own house is occupied by her husband for his business, paint.
哦，这两个应
When
该是矛盾
asked
的，
why the lady doesn't have a shop business in
因
Shexian
为她可
County,
能她老公是
which
做
is
油
two
漆的，
levels
画
higher in
贩卖
administration than this village. By the way, Shexian has 355,000 people, while this village, something like 6,000. There's Shendu town in the middle, with 25,000 people. And what is noteworthy is the population in small places is more bloated,
从前面
simply because
这边也可以
though
查进去
people's residences are still registered locally, they don't actually live in small places. They want to do business or find a job or settle down in bigger towns and cities. Alright, finally back to her answer. She says the annual rent in Chengdu a year is 30,000 yuan, as opposed to 7,000 yuan for the current shop in this village. She doesn't think she can make a desirable profit in Chengdu, although there's a bigger market. The economy has been in crunch like nothing in the past decades since the reform and opening up. The Chinese culture is a depot of power struggles and political wheels and deals. When we use a word, in this case politics,
和川
we need to be aware of the implications.
极远，
When A and B both use the same sounding word
就直接写上去了。
to refer to an object, that is just fine. But when referring to something social, human, psychological, you have to be really very careful.
这边好几家都姓基督教的
Politics in the mind of an average Chinese person is one that belongs to a millennium ago. They think people in the whole world are only interested in interests. Even in politics, there's no honor, value, nobility. There's only interests. Characteristic of a proletariat society who puts no premium on spiritual aspirations. In the face of the increasing financial strain all across the country,
有只鸡
most
在上面，
people are
就
blaming
在这个
outward.
这一块。
Yes, maybe a lot of people swear under their breaths behind closed doors, calling someone name, someone important within
这
this
个人叫
country.
什么？认识吗？
But in the end of the day, they still utter loudly
对。
against all the foreign enemies.
应该是读干。
What is it really interesting to me is that in a serious second thinking, in nations and countries where millions and millions of people stand by and can do nothing against just one or two who they don't like, I doubt which side is to blame. Politics requires the participation of the general public. So even in a democracy, people should not just sit back always. This is how I put it. Bad breeds when good does nothing. You should not be taken aback when I say, in a non-democracy, people in general live in a passive mood, which they take out when things don't go their way.
这里面是红豆啊？
哦，绿豆，
你确定？
对，绿豆。
绿豆这么细啊？感觉。
This is what Chinese people literally call green beans or mung-beans, as I know in English. In this village, late summer is the season for beans and sesame, followed by persimmons and chestnuts in early autumn. I want to continue talking about pigs. Individual households here are allowed to raise pigs. But there is a number cap. I'm not quite sure about the number. Maybe 5 or 3, I don't know. Well, first of all, a lot of houses are empty around the year. People who still live here are primarily old, thus not quite productive. Factors combined, few households raise pigs today. Take my sub-village, for example. Let's say 50 households with people in. 2 raise pigs, and they obey the
我想
rules.
吃你的饼，你给它掰一点。
Then down the mountain in other sub-villages, a few other folks raise pigs. Most of them obey rules,
这只狗
but
倒
2 of
挺帅
them
气的。
do not. They raise many pigs, much more than the limit.
这是什么？哦，白芝麻。
Well, that alone is not all.
白芝麻、黑芝麻。
There is a bad consequence. That is, the creek gets
叫
contaminated
瘸子芝麻。
by those big pig farms.
哦，瘸子。
Something you can see by your eyes. Water looks dark.
瘸子芝麻，
People don't like it.
反正
They
是一种芝麻，
complain.
不同的，
They
既不是
question.
白芝麻，也不是黑芝麻。
But nobody can really do anything to change it. Not even the head of the village, who is the secretary of the Communist Party. It is either because there's a deep or special relationship,
豆子，
or because when there's no
豆
campaign
衣是吧？
or ombudsman from top down, why am I bothered to get involved in anything?
还要收费。
The situation I touched upon earlier. Just now, an irrelevant passerby who is a local villager in his maybe 40s gagged by saying fees are collected for filming. In China, it's not uncommon to hear this. It is facetious indeed, but it does not tell no tale. People are bound in interests. And you hear this when you visit a new place where some folks just walk around and say this to show their presence. It's kind of like saying hello in a way, akin to have you eaten, which in Chinese culture is equivalent to, in English, what's up? Here the one in grey t-shirt is the dude. But pay attention to what the 2 topless men behind him are doing.
他往哪里的？就往二村里的。
买的开个车，买的开个车，我拿分一个，拿分一个，或者要也开工干练的，也搞一个就好的规范也的。
比如咋噻啊？都和你咋不比如咋噻？
咋的噻哈？跟你说，175了。
This is a variety of cupping and scraping out of traditional Chinese therapy. It is said to be able to draw blood through the surface. It was used for disorders associated with an excess of blood, one of the 4 humus of ancient or medieval physiology, according to then Europeans. Behind the wall on the left is the local school. This happens when kids finish their school. The fire comes from the burning of sesame and bean stubbles.